Okay, so for this problem, we want to graph each of the two lines. Now you're going to notice that for the second coordinate plane, I did my y line a little bit longer. But again, what we want to do is find the points, right, that we can go ahead and plot on the graph and then create our line, right, that goes according to the linear equations. So let's start with number A. So we have 3x plus 2y equals 6. Now the way that we are going to graph lines for right now is by creating a table of values. So it's always super helpful to go ahead and create a table of values and then plot the points on the graph, just like with the other exercise that I explained to you earlier. Now for this case, we're gonna go ahead and choose whichever values for x or y we want to use. So it's up to us. There's not right or wrong. Maybe some of them are gonna be a little bit simpler to plug in than other ones, but again, it's up to you to what values you want to use to test and then complete the table. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and choose the value of -2 for x. I'm going to choose 0 for x and then 2. So notice how I chose only values for x. That's kind of easier for me because then I know that I'm always going to be having to find the y value that corresponds to that x value in the linear equation. So when x equals -2, we have 3 times -2 plus 2y equals 6. 3 times -2 is -6 plus 2y equals 6. Now I'm going to go ahead and add 6 on both sides. So we get 2y equals 12. We divide by 2, so y equals to 6. So then the value of y that corresponds to x equals -2 is 6. Let's try x equals 0. So we have 3 times 0 plus 2y equals 6. Now 3 times 0 is 0, so we only get 0 plus 2y equals to 6. This is 2y equals 6. We divide by 2. So y equals to 3. So the y value that corresponds to 0 in x is 3. And let's do the last one. And this will be when x equals 2. So we have 3 times 2 plus 2y equals 6. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2y equals 6. We subtract 6 from both sides. Remember, we want to isolate y. This is going to be 0, so as we divide by 2, y equals 0. So the y value that corresponds to x equals 2 in the equation 3x plus 2y is 0. So we have our values -2, 6, 0, 3, and 2, 0. When we come and plot them in the graph, we get -2 for x and then up to 6. So we go to up to 6. So this is -2 and 6. And then we have 0 and then up to 3. Up to 3. So this is 0, 3. And then we go to 2. And then we don't go up or down because it's 2, 0. Our y value is 0, so it just stays there in the x-axis. So notice how when we had y equals 0, we stayed in the x-axis. That's something that we're gonna go ahead and look into it a little bit further in the next slide. But I just wanted you to kind of be careful with that and take a look on how when y is 0, we stay on the x-axis. Now let's go ahead and work on the next equation. I'm gonna go ahead and erase this part just so we can have a little bit more space. So we have, again, we create a table of values. And I'm going to go ahead and use the same values for x. So x equals -2, 0, and +2. So when x equals -2, then we have y equals 4 times -2 minus 8. I'm replacing just the x value, right? This will be y equals 4 times -2, it's -8 minus 8. Oh, this is going to be -16. Then x equals 0. So we will have y equals 4 times 0 minus 8. So y equals 0 minus 8, so y equals -8. So the y value that corresponds to x equals 0, it's -8. Now let's try when x equals 2. So y equals 4 times 2, and then minus 8. So y equals 8 minus 8, which is 0. So we have the points -2, -16, 0, -8, and the point 2 and 0. Now notice how I have not labeled or numbered my axes yet, any of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and label them, but I'm going to be skipping 2 between each line. So instead of going 1 by 1, they're going to go 2 by 2. So this is going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. This side is going to be -2, -4, -6, -8, -10, -12. Up again, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And this it can keep going. And then -2, -4, -6, -8, -10, and -12. Okay, so again, it's up to you however you want to number your y and x axis. Sometimes it's more convenient to even skip by 5, so go 5, 10, 15, 20, right? It depends on the values that we have on both on the equation that it's given to us. So in this case, our points are -2, -16. So I'm gonna go to -2, right, on x, and then go down to -16. Now notice how I just stopped at -12, so I'm going to go ahead and add another line for -14 and then -16. So here, this point is -2, -16. The next one is 0, so we stay at 0 and -8. So 0 and -8. So notice how in this case x was 0 and we plot the point on the y-axis, right? So it's on the y-axis. So again, that's something we're going to talk about in the next slide. And then we have 2, 0, so we're not going to go up or down, so it's just going to stay there. So this is the point 2, 0. And then we can go ahead and connect the points. So this is supposed to form a line. Mine is going to be a little bit crooked, but the idea is that it's a straight line. Okay? And that's how you graph linear equations by using a table of values. Again, you choose the values you want to use either for x or y. You plug them in, you complete the table, and then you plot the points on the coordinate system.